بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه سبحانه وتعالى ونتوكل عليه فإنه ربنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Few announcements or issues we want to deal with before reminding you, brothers and sisters, of some of the important ahkam, rules and regulations, do's and don't do's of these days, bi'idhnillah, is that first of all, as the brothers are aware, a brother, he brought some of those sweets. I think they call them matai. He passed them out because of the birth of a new member to the community, and that's our brother Talha. Talha is the name of one of the 10 companions that was promised Jannah radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, and part of our expression of love, honor, respect, and reverence towards the Sahabat al-Kiram radiyallahu anhum is that we defend them and we love them and we call our children by their names. The word Talha actually means a type of plant that's in the desert, like a cactus plant. And the Arabs used to call their children Talha because it is symbolic of the fact that the Talha plant has a lot of sabr. It doesn't need water. It can exist and it can be sustained bi-idhnillah, by Allah's permission, without having water. So many times the names that the Arabs used to call themselves, sometimes they didn't even have nice meanings to them. The uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, his name was Abbas. That's not a nice name. Someone who's always frowning and he's looking like that. Abasa wa tawalla. But in his case, it means someone who's serious. He doesn't play around. He takes care of business. Muawiyah, the son of Abu Sufyan radiyallahu anhu. Muawiyah is the wolf that is howling at the moon. The girl wolf, the boy wolf, when it's howling at the moon or trying to get the attention of the other wolf. It's not a nice name in terms of the meaning, but since the companions call themselves by these names, we call ourselves by these names. So we just want to take this opportunity out to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give thabat to little Talha and the rest of the youngsters here and all of us and our families, our parents as well. Second issue is last Friday we gave the khutbah at our masjid and we talked about the al-Ghayb, and there were a number of people who came up to me afterwards, people who I know to be those who are trying to have sound aqidah and they're trying to practice Islam correctly. They misunderstood some of what I was trying to say in the khutbah, and this is the first dars that I'm giving since Friday actually. So I just want to go on record to try to clarify this issue for Allah Azza wa Jalla's sake and Allah's sake alone. There's a book that was written by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn al-Qayyim called I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in, the signs of those people who sign off. The ayat, the signs, the attributes of those people who sign off. And what the book is about, it is referring to the ulama of al-Islam who are signing off in the name of Allah Azza wa Jal. When the ulama speak about the religion, they are in the place of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're doing the responsibility of explaining to the people the religion of Allah. So if you are giving da'wah in Allah, and all of us are giving da'wah in some shape, form, or fashion, We have to be careful about what we say. We should say what is the truth and what can be proven, and we know what we're talking about. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, وَلَا تَقْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Don't go after those things that you have no knowledge about. So the point here is, getting on the minbar in Green Lane where there are thousands of people who are listening, sometimes you get emotional, and you guys should be, I guess, happy that Allah is not going to ask you Yawm al-Qiyamah about you getting in front of the people signing off on his religion. So whenever we make a mistake, whenever we say something that is ambiguous, whenever people don't understand what we're saying, then it doesn't harm us at all to come and to clarify. There's no human being except that he made mistakes in what he said. Everybody except the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who is ma'soom. He doesn't make mistakes. Every scholar that you can think of, they grow and they develop. Everybody in this audience, you're growing and you're developing. Those of you who have practiced all of your life, and those of you who didn't practice all of your life, whatever the case is, there's a point where a mas'ala comes, you think that it's like this, and you take that position. For an example, you didn't do raf'ul yadayn at some time, and then the knowledge came to you, and you changed from that mas'ala, because the knowledge came to you. Every scholar is like that. Every single scholar. Bukhari, Imam Ahmed, Imam Malik, Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he saw his student, Abu Yusuf, writing down as he was speaking. And Imam Abu Hanifa say, hey, Yaqub, Abu Yusuf, don't write down everything that I say. I'm a human being. I say something today, and I'll change it tomorrow. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know what he's doing and what he's talking about and he flip-flops. It means he may take a position today, and then the knowledge comes to him about that issue and he changes his mind. Everybody here is like that. And if you're not like that, there's something wrong with you. If you're a person who you stayed rigid and you stayed the same in every issue, there's something wrong. Now in your aqidah, that never changes. You never come one day you're saying this, next day you're believing something else. Your aqidah is going to be the same. But even in issues of aqidah, there are different issues. There may be ikhtilaf in it. You take this position this year and then you change it at some other point in some other time. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i, he had two madhabs. He had a madhab in which he was in al-Baghdad when he first started off, and then when he went to Egypt and he met more ulama there and different ulama, he started a new madhab. So when you read the books of al-Imam al-Shafi'i, al-Risala, al-Umm, you have to know if that's your madhab. When they say this is a Shafi'i's position, which position was it? Was it in the old madhab or the new madhab? So the point here is, people are always growing and developing. So the great scholar of Islam, Abdullah ibn Mubarak rahimahullah ta'ala, as well as Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, they used to say things like, may Allah have mercy upon the individual who gives to me as a gift my shortcomings. They were not people who had al-kibr, istikbar. Someone comes to you and he says to you, hey, this particular thing that you're doing it the wrong way. You said it the wrong way. You're understanding it the wrong way. Shaitan, he whispers in the hearts of the arrogant people, and they get upset when people tell them that they made a mistake. But people with taqwa and deen, they're the people who they know that perfection is only with Allah. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy upon those people who give to us as a gift with sincerity, nasiha, and they say, hey, you shouldn't have said that. Hey, you need to clarify those issues. And I want to say this specifically to you brothers who are married. One of the characteristics of men, husbands, towards women, is a lot of times we don't pay attention to their point of view. I'm not saying this for them to please them, but this is a reality. It's common in the culture. The man is driving, he doesn't know where he's going, and the lady is saying, no, go over there. And he says, you don't know what you're talking about. And they get lost more and more because he doesn't want to say, you're right. We don't want to be like that. And women, our wives, can't be like that as well. The Nabi says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. The believer is a mirror to his brother. So you should be a reflection of your brother and your wife and vice versa. So he says, hey, your hat is crooked. Hey, you have some paper, some food, and your beard. Hey, button up your shirt, or whatever the situation may be. So concerning the topic that we dealt with at the Khutbatul Eid, Khutbatul Jum'ah, it was about the issue of the al-Ghayb, al-Ghayb. And in the community where we are living in Birmingham, many people from Pakistan, many people from India, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Brahwis, Deobandis, Sufis, they believe that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had the ilm of the Ghayb, the ilm of the Ghayb, the unknown. So we wanted to show to the community that ilm al-Ghayb is the exclusive sole property of Allah. It belongs to Allah and Allah alone. It doesn't belong to any human being or any jinn or any angel. Full stop. That's what I was trying to articulate on that day, but people came back and they said that they thought I was saying that the Nabi had knowledge of the ilm al-Ghayb. So let me make it clear. Ilm al-Ghayb is the sole property of Allah by himself. No one shares with Allah in the ilm al-Ghayb. He mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ لَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الْغَيْبَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, no one in the heavens or the earth knows the unseen except Allah. So that excludes all of the angels, that excludes all of the jinn, that excludes all of the prophets and the messengers. No one knows the Ghayb except Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in another ayat concerning the 5 keys. They call it the Mafatih al-Ghayb. It came in the hadith, the 5 keys of the unknown. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, Inna Allah indahu ilmu sa'ati wa yunazzilu al-ghayth wa ya'lamu ma fil arham wa ma tadri nafsun madha taksibu ghada wa ma tadri nafsun bi ayyi ardin tumut inna Allah alimun khabir. Verily Allah, to him belongs the knowledge of the hour. No one else knows that. And Allah knows when the rain is going to come down. Only Allah. The weathermen don't know. And Allah knows what is inside of the womb. Only Allah knows. You go to the hospital and they do the ultrasound and they say you have a boy or a girl. It doesn't always come out the way they say. And they don't know if that child is going to come out in 9 months, 10 months, 5 months. They don't know if that child is going to come out dead or alive. They don't know if that particular child is going to go to Jannah. Allah knows all of those issues. And number 4, no soul knows where it's going to die. People have gone down to Hajj. Usually, people die in the country, in the city where they live. Usually. But no one here can guarantee I'm going to die in Birmingham. Nobody can guarantee that. People just went for Hajj. Some people are going to die on Hajj. They didn't know that they were going to die over there. And number 5, no soul knows what is in store for it tomorrow. How much money it's going to make. Will he have his job? Will he lose his job? Is he going to lose his arm? No one knows those. Those are the 5 things that no one knows but Allah. Now, Allah Azza wa Jal clearly in those ayat establishes that only he has knowledge of the Ghayb. Full stop. And that's what we want to explain. Without adding on, without subtracting. Only Allah knows the ilm al-Ghayb. That's it. No one else. There was a young girl. She was singing with Aisha. And she said, we have with us a Nabi who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. The Prophet said, hey, don't say that. Stop saying that. You can sing on the day of the Eid, no problem. You can have a good time. You can party, but don't say what's haram. No one knows what's going to happen except Allah. So he stopped her. Jibril came and said, Ya Muhammad, tell me, when is the hour? The Nabi told him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one who's asking the question, you, Jibril, you know just as much as I do. Neither one of us knows. But I have some signs that Allah told me about. Everyone here knows about the story of Aisha radiallahu anha being slandered when they said that she committed the haram, qissat al-ifk, the hadith of the slander. Put your hands up if you heard that hadith, that story. She was traveling with the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, and she was inside of the canopy, and the people were carrying it. So when they stopped to rest, she went out to go to the toilet, akramakum Allah. It was time for the army to move on. She hadn't come back yet, and the people set off thinking she was inside of the canopy, and they went to Medina and left in the desert. Another companion, it was his job to come behind the army if anything was lost, like someone's saddle, an animal, anything was lost, he would pick it up. That was his job, showing how the Prophet ﷺ, his sunnah is to tie your camel, to take precautions. So he came and he saw Aisha, and he said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We say that when there's a musibah. It's a musibah. Here it is, the mother of the believers, the wife of the Prophet, left in the desert. That's a musibah. The man said, without even looking at her, I got off my camel, I made it go down, and she got on the camel, and we went into Medina in broad daylight. The people started saying, the munafiqeen started saying, they had an affair, and it was a big fitna. So, in this long story, the Prophet said to her, because he didn't know, he would go to Ali. He said, Ali, what do you think I should do? He said, Ya Rasulullah, don't stress out about it. You can marry any woman you want. He went to Zayd ibn Haritha. What do you think I should do? Do you believe it? He said, Ya Rasulullah, she didn't do that. Don't believe those people. He went to one of her best friends, Buraira. Aisha was always with Buraira. She was a free slave. Aisha freed her, brought her freedom, and they were close. Yeah, Buraira, you're close to her. Did you see her doing anything? Did you see anything going on? She said, Wallahi, I never saw anything like that. The only complaint that I have about her is sometimes when she's going to make the bread of the dough, she'll put the dough on the table and she'll leave the door open and she'll get busy with something, and the goat or the sheep will come in and eat the dough. And the Nabi didn't punch in the nose when that would happen. He just took it easy. She's a human being and she was young. So the point is, the Nabi, he was asking people, what do you think? What do you think? Because he didn't know. He went to her and he said to her, Ya Aisha, if you did it, if you did this, then seek refuge in Allah and make tawbah to Allah. Allah will forgive every sin. And if you didn't do it, Allah Azza wa Jal will free you from any responsibility. So the point, that story goes to prove and show beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had no knowledge of the ilm al-Ghayb. No knowledge until Allah revealed those ayat upon him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's the point. So only Allah has knowledge of the ilm al-Ghayb, only Allah. But Allah allows certain individuals from his creation to get knowledge of aspects of the ilm al-Ghayb. Aspects, not complete total aspects like Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah allowed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to know that Yawm al-Qiyamah is going to take place on what day? What day is Yawm al-Qiyamah? So on a Friday. What Friday? We don't know. In what year? We don't know. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah allowed him to know, for an example, about Iraq and what's going on in Pakistan right now. That Pakistani girl who got shot in her head. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew about issues like that, about fitna and killing and murder and ignorance, that people wouldn't know their religion, what they can do and what they can't do, how the non-Muslims use these things to try to sow seeds of discord against Islam and the Muslims and so forth and so on. But he didn't have details. Allah Ta'ala mentioned about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and about himself, Alimul Ghayb. فلا يظهر على غيبه أحد إلا من ارتضى من رسول. Allah is the one who knows the unseen, and he doesn't allow anyone to know about his unseen unless it's a Rasul, someone who chose from his prophets and his messengers. Some of the ulama of the opinion that regular people can get a glimpse into the Ghayb if Allah allows them to do that. Like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he had a number of mu'jizat. He had a number of miracles that used to happen in his lifetime. From those miracles is he used to tell the Muslim leader and the commander things of the army of the Tatars, what they were going to do and what they wanted and so forth and so on. And the man would say, the leader would say, how do you know that? Say, inshallah. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah would say, inshallah tahqiqan, la ta'liqan. I'm saying inshallah, but it's really gonna happen. I'm not saying inshallah like I don't know. He said, I say inshallah. They said, okay, if you're so sure, do the yameen. Say wallahi. He said wallahi 80 times. The type of wallahi, if you're lying when you do it or you make a mistake, you have to fast. You know, it's not the wallahi where I say, wallahi, that matai is really sweet. That's not the wallahi here. It's the one where the person says, wallahi, and he really means it. And if he goes against that, he has to fast. There's a penalty for breaking it. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah would swear 80 times that this thing is going to happen tomorrow. And then they would ask him, how did you know that? He would tell his student, al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, don't ask me about the details. So many of the scholars were of the opinion that Allah used to allow him through a dream, for an example, to know these things. The only of Allah Azza wa Jal. You sitting there, you may see a dream, and in that dream, Allah gives you a vision about something that's going to happen. It doesn't mean that you are a Rasul. It doesn't mean that you are a Nabi. It doesn't mean that you can make what's haram halal or halal haram, but Allah gives you a glimpse into that. As he told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Nabuwa, prophecy, is 46 different branches. Allah raised up all prophecy, and the only prophecy that remains is a good dream. So a person does istikhara, sometimes he may see something in his dream, and it's an indication that he should or he shouldn't do a particular thing. So in concluding about this point, that we want to go on record trying to make it clear as possible, only Allah knows the ilm al-Ghayb, only. But Allah Azza wa Jal, He allows, as He mentioned in the Quran, certain people from His servants to get glimpses and aspects of the Ghayb. After that, we want to take this opportunity, inshallah, to just remind you brothers and you sisters above some of the rules and regulations of these days that we're living in right now. For those of you who don't know, these are the 10 days of dhul hijjah. Wednesday night was the first day. Tuesday night, yesterday was the first day, and this is the second day right now. These days that we're living in right now as human beings, they're the best days in the year. There are no days better than these 10 days. Ramadan is not better than these 10 days. Laylatul Qadr and the last 10 nights of Ramadan are the best nights in the dunya because of Laylatul Qadr. But in terms of daytime, the day, these days, from the beginning to the end, these are the best days in the dunya, but the nights of Ramadan are better. The Prophet, he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in an authentic hadith, ma min ayamin al-amalu salih fihinna ahabbu lillahi min hadhihi al-ayam. فقيل ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله يا رسول الله قال ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله إلا رجل خرج بماله ونفسه ثم لم يرجع من ذلك بشيء. He said there are no days in which a person does good deeds, and those deeds are more beloved to Allah. No days better than these days. So the good deeds you do in these days are better than the deeds you do in Ramadan or any other time. They said, but what about other months, Ya Rasulullah? What about other months? What if I'm doing something in other months? He said the things that you do in these days are better than any other month, any other days, except if a person were to make jihad. And he went out for jihad, real proper jihad. He went out for jihad and he lost his life. He didn't come back. He was martyred. So during these days, this class that I'm giving and the one that you're listening to, the one that I'm giving and the one that you're listening to is better than the other things that you do outside of this month. During these days. From the virtues of these days is that Allah mentioned them in the Quran. He said, وَلْيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. Let them remember the name of Allah in the well-known days. Abdullah ibn Abbas and other companions, they said this ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah is talking about these days right here. Remember Allah in these 10 days. In these 10 days. Also, Allah Azza wa Jalla, in showing the virtues of these days, He mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Fajr, wal-Fajr, wa-layal al-Ashr, wal-Shaf'i wal-Watr. He swore by the Fajr time, and He swore by the 10 nights, these days, and He swore by the Shafa'. Now, that's an indication and a proof of the importance of these days, because Allah only swears by what is important. So He swore by these days in the Quran. In addition to that, Ikhwani, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to do certain things during these days. From what we should do is, we should pray as much as we possibly can pray. It's the most important thing you can do in these days. Nothing better than it after the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jalla. He said, as-salat khayru mawdu' faman istata'a an yastakthir falyastakthir. The salat is the best thing that you can do at any time. So anyone who can make more salat, let him make as many prayers as he can. He told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as-salat aqrabu ma yakunu al-'abdu ila rabbihi wa huwa sajid fa akthiru fihi min ad-du'a. The closest that the slave is when he's making sajda. So make more dua to Allah in your sajda, meaning when you're praying. So these are the days of making more salat. These also are the days that we should try to fast. Those of you who still owe days from Ramadan, especially the women, from the ulama, with the companions like Umar radiallahu anhu and other scholars, they were of the opinion that these are the best days to make up the days of your fasting, because they're the best days. So instead of delaying until Sha'ban next year, inshallah, before Ramadan, these are the days that anyone who owes days, he's tried to get them in now. In addition to that, if he doesn't owe any days, then he should try to fast as much as he possibly can fast during these days, as the companions used to do and as the wives of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Aisha said that the Nabi didn't fast, but his other wife sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wife said that he did fast. And her position is the one that we're going to take, because she is giving information about something she probably had some added knowledge about that Aisha didn't have. So even if it wasn't established that he fasts, the point is from the ibadat that we should increase, especially fasting on the day of Arafah. And it's in these days. The day of Arafah, inshallah, is going to be Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday, inshallah. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, anyone who fasts on the day of Arafah, he'll be forgiven for his sins that went in the past year and his sins that are going to come in the future year, inshallah. So that's from what we should do, not to mention the issue of remembering Allah a lot. As we mentioned, the ayat of the Quran, it shows the virtues of these days and also one of the wadifas of this day. وَلْيَذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْلُومَاتٍ. Let them remember Allah's name in these days. The companions like Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he used to go to the marketplace and he used to just be saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Kabira. The Nabi taught him that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. He used to say that. In an authentic hadith, he told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to say La ilaha illallah a lot during these days. Say subhanallah, say alhamdulillah a lot during these days. So you may not be a person who, after your 5 prayers, you usually don't sit down to make dhikr. These are the days you should try to do that. Or you're just sitting there. You should try to make dhikr during these days, taking up some time just to do those aspects of the sunnah. One of the reasons why these days are so virtuous and heavy in the scale, the mizan with Allah Azza wa Jalla, and important in the deen, is that these are the days, ikhwani, that all of the arkan of al-Islam are being practiced in these days. This is the one time of the year in which every aspect of al-Islam is being practiced. Every aspect. The shahadatain, la ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, is going to be practiced every day throughout the year. As-salat is going to be practiced every day throughout the year. As-zakat is not going to be practiced every day throughout the year. Some people are going to be paying their zakat. They're going to be paying their zakat in Ramadan. Others going to pay in another month. So there are those people who are paying zakat in this month, at these 10 days. They accepted al-Islam at this time. A year goes around, now they have to pay zakat at this time. Also, fasting. People are going to be fasting these days. They're going to be fasting. On the day of Arafah, people are going to be fasting. And also those pilgrims who are performing al-Hajj, the Hajj of al-Tamattu', they don't have the ability to slaughter al-Iqran. They don't have the money, but they want to do that Hajj. They can do the Hajj, the Umrah and the Hajj. And since they don't have money, they have to fast 10 days. 10 days. So it's going to be doing these days. Some of those days are going to be in the Hajj, and other of those days are going to be when they return. And then finally, the fifth and final pillar is the pillar of Hajj, is at this time. So it's the one time of the year in which all of the arkan of al-Islam are going to be practiced. So I guess that's a trivia question, not trivial, a trivia question. You want to ask someone, what time of the year do the Muslims practice all of the arkan and pillars of al-Islam? The answer to the question is during these 10 days of dhul hijjah, the 12th and final month. And not only is it the 12th and final month, but it is a sacred month in al-Islam. Allah Ta'ala mentioned, Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allahi ithna ashara shahran fi kitabillahi yawma khalaqa as-samawati wal ard minha arba'atun hurum ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. The number of months with Allah are 12. It was like that the day He created the heavens and the earth. And from those 12 months, 4 of them are sacred. And this is the deen that is correct. That's what's correct. So don't oppress yourselves in these sacred months. We just finished with Dhul Qa'dah, and this is Dhul Hijjah, and then the next one coming is Muharram, inshallah, the beginning of the new Islamic calendar. So these days are days that we have to be careful about making dhulm to ourselves, oppressing ourselves, shirk, magic, making dhulm to ourselves, misappropriating people's monies, or whatever the case may be, to be observed more in these days than any other days. Another very important issue, Khwani, those of you who want to slaughter, you want to do the udhiyah, you want to slaughter for yourself, you want to slaughter for your relatives or whoever. These are the days, if you intend to slaughter after the Eid, then you shouldn't groom yourself after these days. You should leave your mustache the way it is. You should leave your hair, your pubic hair, your nails. Don't groom yourself at all. You should have done that before these 10 days came. The Nabi says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا دَخَلَتْ عَشْرٍ وَأَرَادَ أَحَدَكُمْ أَنْ يُضَحِيَ فَلَا يَمِسُّ مِنْ شَعْرِهِ وَبَشَرِهِ أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. If the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah comes and one of you wants to slaughter, then don't take from your nails and your hair. Don't do that. Don't do that at all until after your animal has been slaughtered. Either you did it, you slaughtered the animal yourself after Salat of al-Eid, or if you sent the animal, for an example, and you deputize someone to do it, don't do it until you know that they have actually slaughtered. And concerning the slaughtering, it's permissible for you to slaughter on the day of the Eid, or the second day after the Eid, or the third day of the Eid. For Eid al-Adha, there are 3 days for the Eid. For Eid al-Fitr, there's just 1 day. So Eid al-Adha, there are 3. The day of the Eid, then when we make Salat al-Eid, the next day is the Eid, and the third one. So this year is going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The weekend, alhamdulillah. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We should take these opportunities, inshallah, especially that it's on the weekend, to try to make it a big issue, festive occasion. Another very important hukum. Since the Eid is on Friday this year, pay attention guys, the Eid is on Friday, not this Friday, the following one, inshallah. It's the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If the Eid falls on the day of Friday, if you pray, and it's wajib for you, if you pray the Eid prayer, you don't have to pray the Jummah prayer. You don't have to go. You don't have to go. That's for the man and the woman, obviously. So for the Eid prayer, you got to go to the Eid prayer. There's some scholars who said Eid prayer is not wajib, and they have the dalil for that. But on the Friday, when you pray the Eid prayer, when Jummah comes around at 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1:30, you don't have to go and you don't have to worry about it. You just pray Salatul Dhuhr, 4 rakat. If you want to attend the Eid prayer, the Salatul Jummah, you can attend. But the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is showing, look at this. He says sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam, innama bu'ithtu bil hanafiyyati samha. I have been sent with the religion that makes things easy. He said, I want to show the Jews, Ahlul Kitab, that in our religion, we have fun in our religion. So on the day of the Eid, he said, Al-Eid, Yawmul Eid, Yawm Aklim wa Shurb. The day of the Eid is a day of having drinking and eating. Yeah, festivities, being happy. So he would lie on his side in the house of Aisha, and the friends of Aisha, little girls, would be there, and they would be playing and they would be singing, and the Rasulullah was just cooling out. He was just relaxing. Abu Bakr would come to visit him, and he saw and he heard the girls singing, and Abu Bakr would say, what's going on? Are the flutes of shaitan in the house of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because the little girls were singing. He said, Abu Bakr, every group of people, Sikhs, Hindus, agnostics, every black, white, every group of people, they have their day of celebration. And we, the people of Islam, our celebration is the day of this Eid. So he prevented Abu Bakr from being rough and tough with them, which goes to show on this day, on these days, they're days of festivities. And actually, being that it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, some of us as fathers, we're quite busy. We don't have a lot of time to give quality time, family time, where we're going to do something. You have to do something on Saturday with your kids, have to do something on Sunday with your kids, and make sure during those days you are making the dhikr after you pray and so forth and so on. The sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after all of the prayers from that Friday, we're going to make Fajr. We're going to make Jummah or Dhuhr. Those days all the way up until Sunday at Asr time, after the Salat, you make the dhikr of Allah Ta'ala after Salat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Wa lillahi alhamd. After each prayer on your own, you do that until Asr prayer on Sunday. So if you're with your family and you're out and about with your family, try to institute that particular sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in an attempt that we have to try to push back all of these influences that are always in the minds and the hearts of our children, and our own minds and our hearts, and the minds and the hearts of our wives as well. On a daily basis, we're being reminded that we should forget about Allah. We're being encouraged to forget about Allah. So this is one of those institutions in Islam that have been legislated to push back all of that stuff. So I would advise that as parents, we start to plan for this thing. We have over a week. The planning is not going on Alum Rock Road, just spending a lot of time going up and down buying stuff. You guys buy those funny looking pointy shoes and you're making you can do that if you want, but don't spend all of the time doing that. Or just as much focus should be upon these ibadat, the dhikr of Allah, teaching our kids what about the story of Ibrahim wanting to slaughter and sacrifice his son, Hajj, the role that she played in the rules and regulations of al-Hajj, how being a woman, she was running back and forth and so forth and so on. The Tawheed, the importance of the Kaaba, All of these issues. It's an opportunity for us to get close to Allah Azza wa Jalla. So our iman, ikhwani, it goes up in the month of Ramadan. Everybody here is iman in the month of Ramadan, the first days as well, especially, it goes up. These days are more important than that, bigger than that. These days, in terms of virtue, they're bigger than that. So our iman should go up. We should have a certain sense of a heightened state of, okay, that's haram, like in Ramadan. I know what I'm doing, that's haram. That's how we should be in these days. And you have to make jihad to the best of your ability to just do the right thing and to just try to stay away from what's not acceptable. Those are the things that come to my mind concerning the ahkam of these days. There may be some other things that will come. If you ask those questions, we'll deal with that, inshallah ta'ala. So if you brothers or you sisters have any questions, you can put your question forward for the next few minutes.
Question, the takbirat that you do until Sunday at this Eid, is it for the women as well, and should they say it loudly?
Concerning the dhikr of Allah, the takbirat, the general rule, ikhwani, in al-Islam, the worship in al-Islam, the ibadat in al-Islam, the general rule is what is applicable to the men is equally applicable to the women. Whatever Allah tells the men to do, the women have to do the same exact thing in the same way, the same number, the same mode, unless there's a proof to come and it shows there's a distinction that they either do it a different way or they don't have to do it at all. Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, we see that jihad is from the best affairs, so we women, we want to make jihad. He told her, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, lakunna jihad la qitalun fi al-Hajj al-Mabrur. You women, you have a jihad, there's no fighting in it. Your jihad is making a good Hajj. So that hadith goes to show, normally, under normal circumstances, generally speaking, women don't make jihad. That's not from them. It's not from what's been legislated on them. Okay? So if there's a text that says, do this, men and women have to do it the same. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, pray the way you see me praying. The women have to pray the same way that the Nabi prayed. And if you're being taught or you have been taught and instructed as a woman, you have to put your hands in a different way. You have to go down in prostration, sajda in a different, none of that stuff. Men and women are the same, unless the proof comes and makes a distinction. So look at the distinctions. If it's that time of the month for the lady, she doesn't have to pray. So there's a distinction. She doesn't have to fast like the men, because there's a distinction. When she's praying, she doesn't have to go to the masjid. She doesn't have to pray Salat al-Jum'ah, because she's been excluded. There's a dalil to tell her she doesn't have to do that. She doesn't make the adhan in the presence of the men. She can't be the imam over the men. If the imam reads in the salat and he makes a mistake, the women, they say subhanallah, the women, they clap, and the men, they say subhanallah, and the men, they're the ones who correct the imam. If the women are praying in jama'at by themselves, they're in this room and they're going to pray by themselves, the lady who's the imam is going to stand in the middle of the first row, and then they're going to be sisters to her right, sisters to her left. And that's because there are distinctions, there are dalils, that proofs that come and say they do these different things. So concerning the dhikr of Allah, after she prays, she says, after Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, she says, Allahu Akbar, Astaghfirullah, 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 Allahumma anta salah, just like the men. And similar to that, after the salah in these days, the days of the Eid, she says in her house, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. On the day of the Eid, she's far away from the men. She says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. She's performing Hajj, Umrah. She says, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, Labbaik la sharika lak labbaik. She says it just like the men, as long as there's no fitna, as long as there's no fitna. So she does the dhikr like everybody else on her own, not in jama'at, unless she's teaching her children, teaching people, and she says it out loud as long as there is no fitna. Naam, Akhi Harun.
Advice to give
On the last Eid, Eid al-Fitr, one of the volunteers from Green Lane Masjid took me to Runcorn Road off of Lady Pool Road. And there was a lot of traffic. The next day was going to be the Eid, the next day. There's a lot of traffic on Lady Pool Road. And it was like party time, like we hadn't fasted the month of Ramadan. And everybody, a lot of people, the Shabab, they had their music up loud, and it just was a lot of movement out in the street. And it actually was a sad sight, because it showed we're not really understanding what Ramadan was all about, and even what the Eid is about. There's nothing wrong, as I mentioned, to have a good time and to feel good. This is the time that was party time. The Nabi told us that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's party time. But wasting money by renting out expensive cars and flashy cars, that's against the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's also against what the Eid is all about. The Nabi told the people sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Hurrima alaykum qila wa qal wa kathratu su'al wa ida'atu al-mal." It has been made haram for you, he said, she said. And it has been made haram for you asking a lot of unnecessary questions. And it has been made haram for you wasting money. It's the benefit of going to get a Ferrari or going to get one of those stretched Hummers. This showing off. It's showing off, and it's just something that should be avoided altogether. So we just have to be balanced. We have to stay in the middle, have a good time, just don't go overboard. So two extremes is the father, the husband on the day of the Eid, and it always happens. You get in a big argument with your wife on the day of the Eid. You get upset with one of your kids on the day of the Eid. Your relatives, you're upset with them, they're upset. Now, the day of the Eid is a day of enjoyment and really chilling out and cooling out. As the Prophet instructed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, days of eating and days of drinking. Not going overboard though. Something that came to my mind, but I just lost it. Any more questions, Ikhwani? Naam, Akhuna, Azhar, Zahid.
Can you offer one slaughter to be offered yourself, the family, and your parents who passed away?
Zahid wants to know if you have the right to offer an animal for your family, your parents, and all of that stuff. Concerning the slaughtering, the more you do, the better. The bigger, the better. So the Nabi allowed people to collectively, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, slaughter a cow and slaughter a camel. Multiple people go in on that. So we have the ability to do that. That's from the best deeds in al-Islam, and that's one of the sunnahs we should try to bring life to. Don't be of the stingy people who think, oh, it's going to be $80, 80 pounds, 75 pounds, it's a lot of money, and you decide that you don't have the money. Slaughtering is from the best deeds. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mamati. Inna salat. What's the beginning of the ayat? Inna salati wa nusuki wa mamati wa mamati wa Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen la sharika lahu wa bidhalika umirtu wa ma ana min al-mushrikeen. This now Inna salata wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lirabbil alameen la sharika lahu wa bidhalika umirtu wa ana awwal al-muslimin. It goes to show, Ikhwani, in addition to that, verily my life, my sacrifice, my actual slaughtering, my sacrifice, my salat, my life, my death, it's all for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. That's what I've been ordered to do. And I'm from the first of those who are from the Muslims, the believers. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Kawthar, Inna ataynaka al-Kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar. I gave you the Kawthar, ya Muhammad, so pray and slaughter for your Lord. Pray and slaughter for your Lord. This is from the best ibadat in al-Islam because it's an ibadah connected to your money. It's an ibadah like zakat, connected to your money. So it's permissible for the man to go in collectively with different members of his family. No doubt about that. Any more questions, Akhwani?
Is that for a specific animal? For a sheep, can you have like 10 people going to one sheep?
Nah, that's for the bigger animals. One person for the sheep. Huh? Qul inna salati now. Okay, Akhwani, inshallah ta'ala. Just to remind you, brothers and sisters, one more time. Try to take advantage, inshallah, of these days. Make peace between the people on the day of the Eid. Also, making peace is from the best deeds that you can possibly do. Now.
Basically, like, you know, like we celebrate Eid. Is there any decorations that Allah made that they celebrate Eid as well? For example, like jinns on the same day as do they celebrate Eid as well?
Who?
Jinns.
The jinn. The jinn. Did you say the jinn? Yeah, the jinn, they have an Eid. And that's because from the jinn are Muslims who are practicing the religion. So the answer to the question is simple. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was sent to the human beings and the jinn. قُلْ إِنَّهُ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ إِلَيَّ نَفْرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ. Tell them that it was revealed to me, he didn't know at first, that some jinns, they listened to this Quran, they listened to what I had to say. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ahqaf, that those jinn came to the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and they listened to him and then they accepted Islam. And they went back to their people and they told their people about al-Islam. So they practiced the Eid. But we don't go after this. We don't try to, where is the salat of the jinn? Who was the imam and the khatib of the jinn? And are they slaughtering animals? And so, now that's not our business. We just know in our iman about the jinn, they're from the al-Ghayb and they're Muslims. And what we have to do, they have to do. They believed in the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's what I wanted to mention. Shukran, akhi. On the day of the Eid, from our culture, is the issue of music. Aisha and the people who were singing with her, they were doing just that. They were singing. They were singing songs. They didn't have any musical instruments accompanying them in the discussion. It is permissible to use the duff for the girls and the women. And the duff, it looks like a tambourine, but without the bells on it. You know, tambourine, without the bells. It just has that like little drum thing like that. And we should just stay within what al-Islam allows. It's for the women, and they can do it on these types of days of celebrations, just like the nikah, just like the day of the nikah. It's for the women, and it should be done within the confines and the boundaries of the deen. Any more questions? Okay, Ikhwani, then we're going to hand it over to an Akh Ajmal, who's going to be going to Hajj, inshallah, after a few more days. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make his journey to Mecca and Al-Madinah, inshallah, one that is filled with khair and barakah for him and his family, and that Allah Azza wa Jal protects all of the Muslims from our community and other than our community to make a good Hajj and to come back, inshallah, salimeen, afeen, with good health and forgiven for the sins and the mistakes that they put forward.